They have never really been aware of the fact that they had a way to enforce their rights. They had a way to show the public that their rights are existent, are real. I'm talking about primarily the rights to academic freedom, the rights to due process as envisioned by the 14th Amendment. Today, teachers are stopping, rolling over, and playing dead. They're standing up, they're believing in the Constitution, and they want to do something about it. They're tired of being discriminated against, basically, and they have been. I'm reminded that Justice Frankfurter, in a very famous case which reached the Supreme Court, stated what's now the creed, I think, of teachers, that to state that the teacher is the priest of our democracy is not to engage in hyperbole, which is simply to say that teachers very definitely must become engaged in politics and with the democratic processes of our system if our system is to survive and to be passed on.
The cause of alcoholism is alcohol. Now, in medicine, we have something that we call resistant to some diseases. Some people are resistant to alcohol, some people don't. Now, the problem is that nobody knows if you are resistant or not, you know. And you want to try to find out if you are resistant or not. And you begin to drink, maybe you will find out that you are not resistant, and you make yourself an alcoholic. From the beginning, the alcohol touches our brain, you see. And the alcohol itself kills the nerve cells of the brain. Not because of lack of vitamins, no. Direct contact with alcohol to the brain. I saw these damaged brains in the county hospital in Los Angeles, and I saw this in the microscope. As you see, these are not psychological interpretations, no. These are medical facts.
Well, Frank, when Coach Allen, of course, moved up to the position that he took over and was moved to his responsibilities as offensive backfield coach, I'd always wanted to coach since I was in college, and I didn't really know whether Coach Landry knew that I did want to coach. I went in and talked to him about, not really now, but when I got through playing football, that, you know, if he would consider hiring me as a coach, because I feel like if you're going to coach, you might as well start with who you consider as knowing the most about football, and I do feel that way about Coach Landry. So I went in and talked to him, and he said, well, how would you like being a player coach? And it kind of caught me by surprise, but we talked about it and discussed it, and came back in a couple of weeks later and offered me the job, so I took it.
All of this is based on whether or not that health keeps up, and whether or not we'll find the answer, I guess, in July or August.
Well, this is true. We'll reevaluate the knee and see how it feels, the knees, I might as well say, when we get to training camp this year. And, of course, if they do bother me, then I'll retire as a player like you and go into coaching.
Dan, let me find out from you, what do you feel personally that you, Dan Reeves, will add most to the Cowboy coaching staff?
Well, Frank, it's a little, hard to say right now. I think the biggest thing is that we can bring the players and the assistant coaches closer together. I feel like I'll be closer to the players, and I think this is something that maybe will help us in some way, and I think we need to be a little bit closer together.
That's a good point there, and one that I'd like to talk about a little bit. There's a kind of rapport that must exist between the coaching staff and the players. Then what you're saying is that you feel that you will be able to add that rapport, that the players will look to you as a coach, and yet they'll still remember you as Danny Reeves, the player.
Well, this is what I hope, Frank. It's going to be quite an adjustment, I think, for me, because it's going to be a different role, something I haven't done, and it's just going to, have to wait and see how it does. But I hope this is the way it works out. I hope the players will feel that way toward me. I certainly hope they do. And if we can, I think it'll be a great thing for us. Frank, we've been so close so many years, and maybe anything that we can add along the way that can help us win a championship, that's what we want.
Well, of course, the feeling is, as we have been told by our source in Washington, that if we do not come up with an acceptable plan, then our records are being held now to be shipped to the Justice Department.
Do you think that there will ever be integration, fully integration, as long as the housing patterns remain the same, not only in your district, but throughout the country?
I think it will be very difficult to attain the ultimate in what the law calls for because of the neighborhood patterns, and this strikes home very definitely in our district because of the housing patterns.
Well, of course, the Federal Water Pollution Control Administration oversees and supervises the operation at the state level of the state water quality standards. Now, Texas state water quality standards have been accepted by the Federal Water Pollution Control Administration, but I am sure that they can work with the state both by insisting that these standards be maintained, and also by bringing federal action against any willful industrial polluter who might disobey the injunctions of the state.
Of course, I'll be working strictly with the offensive backs, Frank, I know that. I think I'm very fortunate that we'll have Ray Renfro, past offensive coach, and Coach Jim Myers, running game, to help me to make this adjustment, and I won't think my power will be that great. I won't be able to put myself in and out of the ballgame when I want to, but I think I'll be working strictly with the offensive backs and trying to help them in any way that I possibly can.
And if I know you like I think I do, you probably figure out a way that you can put yourself in and out of the game. Danny, at 26 years old, I'm sure you know by now that you are the youngest coach in all of pro football, and does this have any significance to it at all in your own mind?
Well, Frank, this is one of the things I thought about when I took the job, but I don't know, I feel like I've learned a lot of football from being a quarterback in college and then coming with the Cowboys, and I want to see if coaching is a line that I want to go into, and I think it's a great opportunity for me, and maybe some people think at 26 it might hurt me that I'm not really old enough to be a coach, but I think I can handle the job, and I know it's not going to be easy. I'll probably catch it from two ends now, from writers, and being a coach and being a player, I'll catch it two ways. But I think I can handle it, and of course, you'll never know unless you try. And it's just a great honor for me, to Coach Landry, to have the confidence to give me this job, and I'm looking forward to it, and I just want to do the best job I can.
We're not trying to keep Charles from being tried. We're simply trying to get him tried in a state other than California before a jury that has not prejudged his case.
Is there any precedent for this?
The argument has been made before, and it's being made in other cases at this time. I am not aware of any situation that has developed just exactly like this.
Do you have preference of any states?
We really haven't gotten that far into it. We feel like that California has received so much more prejudicial publicity than any other state, that any state outside of California would be better.
As his attorney, do you feel that he could be tried in Texas?
I don't feel like it's probable. I feel like that if we should be successful in having the case removed to the federal court and having the federal court transfer the case outside of California, I feel like it would be moved to some state closer to California than to Texas.
Now, we have some trouble with welfare money, in fact, some serious trouble. The proposal has been made, perhaps, that money to be used for construction of hospitals and expansion of facilities of that sort might be used to keep the welfare fund going. What's your position on that?
Well, now, this might be a possible way, but I will say this, that the money that has been placed for use with these other projects, if it is used in this manner, certainly I'm going to see that it will be replaced. We have not we have not explored this to the extent that we have made up our minds that this is a way to solve the problem. The problem seems to be that since last September, there's some 50,000 welfare recipients have been added to our rolls. I would like to determine in my own mind and to be completely satisfied that it was necessary that this number have been added, because the only way that you can get on the Medicaid roll is to be a welfare recipient.